Thank you very much of our friends who gave me this time to speak. I'm not gonna abuse your patience much. I want to speak about the Urmia lake. This is the second biggest saltwater lake in the world, but 6,000 kilometers area in the northwestern Iran. It faces a threat of absolute drying out. Based on official documents, much of it is dried, and soon we will have a crisis of salt storms where life of people will be seriously in danger. In a radius of 500 kilometers, agriculture and environment will be destroyed. In 1976, UNESCO declared Urmia Lake as an exceptional biosphere site, but the governmental authorities of Iran have abused their international obligations, and they have suppressed the activities of the people of Azerbaijan who wanted attention to the condition of the lake. They have imprisoned activists, and they have broken all obligations that come from environmental treaties. And thousands of wells, some deep, some not so much deep, have been dug around the lake. So this is 3 years that the water in the lake has been totally dried up. What water was in the lake has pelanticipated, and this is the biggest desertification in the 21st century. So the villages around the lake have become depopulated. They're not suitable for living anymore. Dams have been built under the environmental organizations, and the Iranian governmental authorities have to be held responsible for the drying out of the lake. The Iranian government not only has done nothing to protect the lake, it has actually eliminated what a small budget existed for the protection of the lake, and it wants to finish off this lake. Now, Iranian governments, in order to deceive the people of Azerbaijan, come once in a while and speak about their demand to protect the lake. But if you listen carefully, you can see what they actually mean. One of the governmental authorities recently said that the budget allocated for the protection of the lake was eliminated, and instead dams continue to be built, and the water. Qurban Ali Saadat, the Governor General of West Azerbaijan, said in a meeting on water and electricity allocations, spoke about the water being sent from Aras. He said the budget, unfortunately, has been, the budget column that was for the protection of the lake has been eliminated. And he said that if this important international biosphere is to be protected, the budget cannot be eliminated like that. He says because Qurban Ali Saadat also spoke about 3 dams, Silo, Shirabad, and Kanisib, in the western Azerbaijan that are being worked on. He said these dams need to continue to be built, and he said the water needs to, the water is needed. But most experts believe that the dams are the reason that the lake has dried up. This governmental authority wants more dams to be built in the Urmia Lake basin, whereas the Iranian government previously had said that they will stop building dams. Rafi Zadeh, the head of the executive operations of the irrigation of the East Azerbaijan province, recently this authority told news agencies that all the credit used, 16 billion reals was to be used, but out of this only 9 billion, 59% of it has been actually allocated. This is why we hear that Iranian government, in order to send water from Persian Gulf to the central desert areas, has put 3,500 billion reals. This shows obvious discrimination, and disregard of the Urmia lake. This shows that the Rouhani's promises about revival of the lake has been total lies, and Iranian government actually tries to destroy the Urmia lake so they can disperse Azerbaijanis from their homes. An authority from the local Azerbaijan Governor General talks about what a grave crisis is the lake in. This will be a great threat to Iran and to the neighboring countries. Now, the Urmia lake at the moment has less than 2 billion cubic meters. It used to have 32 billion cubic meters of water, and in the ecological conditions it should have 14 billion. About the salt storms, I have to say that Mr. Fazl, who is a local environmental authority, spoke about salt storms and said the question of the salt storm has been talked about by environmental activities. Authorities have been warned about this for a long time, and it continues to be a source of concern. He said that even in the reports that we have given to the government authorities and the meeting that we had in the parliament in Tehran, it was said that the question of salt storms is very likely to happen in the Azerbaijan, and it can actually spread all the way to the western borders of the Tehran province. Talking about the Zanjan province, he also warned that in Alborz and Tehran provinces there is actually a problem of salt tsunami, a possibility of salt storms and salt tsunami. Now, when it comes to Urmia Lake, even Mr. Fazl said that something has to happen immediately on a national level. Another authority from the environmental organization of Iran said 21 provinces of Iran face air pollution, and added that at the moment more than 100 fields in Iran face serious environmental crises because of underground water crisis. Now, in the very same way that in around 10 years Urmia Lake was dried out, we also have a silent emigration of villages who lived around this beautiful, formerly blue oasis of Azerbaijan. Now I want to talk about the effects of the Urmia Lake crisis. It's not only the animals that suffer. Yeah, it has been spoken of Urmia, flamingos, or the Iranian yellow deer, or this or that animal. We are talking about the entire ecosystem. 6,000 hectares. If this exists or not, its existence has an effect of millions of species around, and of course an entire nation. Now, the first human victims of these crises are the farmers. The first groups that actually get hurt from the crises are farmers, who are the poorest and people with the lowest income. Whereas who should really be responsible are those managers who, with their imprudence. Now I want to talk about the lack of management in the crises of Urmia Lake. Now, when speaking about management incompetences in Iran, we can say there are meetings, there are conferences, there are congresses, there are symposiums, there are roundtables, there are committees, there are meetings, but all of this hasn't added a glass of water to the Urmia Lake. And even the condition of Urmia Lake hasn't even been stabilized. There's always new organizations, new formations. This is, in these situations of crisis, some people become famous, some people get money for this mission, they get money to attend this or that meeting, they get positions, they get names, they get votes, they get scientific positions, but there is no structural way to actually work on the crisis of the lake. We see a lot of imprudence, incompetence of management. There are billions of riyals allocated to the Urmia Lake, but this is not actually spent to solve the crisis. It goes into the pocket of of those who get money for attending this meeting or taking a flight somewhere, and they hope that to use Urmia Lake to add to their own clouds. Now, we have had a silent emigration of 6 million farmers from the Urmia Lake Basin, and these incompetent managements should be responsible to this. We, the human rights activists of Azerbaijan, ask the United Nations and international organizations in defense of environment to compel the Islamic Republic of Iran to do the following. 1. Immediately open the dams and let the water behind the dams to go toward the lake to stop the absolute drying out of the lake. 2. Pay compensation to the farmers, block the wells around the lake so that the springs on the lake can be active and the lake can come back to life. 3. Because of the international dimensions of these crises, use experiments on an international level and international experts to save this lake. 4. Free all those who have been imprisoned to defend the situation of the lake. Thank you very much.